start all over.
Still, the planes, bigger, more labor. Take some of the seats out. You've been in some of those seats. Take them doggone seats out. There's so many people on the plane anyway. Exactly.
That's true.
Yeah,
Okay, guys.
Not like they don't charge enough.
There's three that say we can clearly recline. We can clearly recline.
Absolutely.
We're gonna weigh in
Or do you want to come back?
with the newest member of our team here. Oh, we're going back? Okay. No. Me and Rashid were just talking. Rashid, okay, you've heard the debate. American Airlines.
Man, I was
Can you recline your seat on the airline? Are you allowed to do that?
Oh, man.
A lady is suing a man because she reclined her seat and he pushed her the whole flight to not recline.
Well, because like when you're in an airplane, like yes, like there's there's option to recline, but it's like
family theater.
when you're over reclined to where when you're actually on somebody,
Yeah.
in their personal space, I can see why they're
Just came out with dark
It's
rose.
like
You can't over recline. It only reclines about 3
Yeah,
inches.
just last
Okay.
week.
It doesn't over
And
recline.
he told me like last
okay,
week, so I
and
ended
then
up going
that's
down.
maybe him
But I
being
was kind of like
petty.
doing your stuff. It's like, oh my
Petty.
God, it's been
Yeah, but that's just him being petty over the fact that it's like.
Sure, she like he is super fit.
Okay, super petty.
Yeah, I
So
can
are you gonna push the recline button the next time you fly, or are you going to not?
that depends on
we've done shows on television.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and
Because
like
I
Rico.
sleep on my flights. So it's going to recline. As soon as they give me permission, as soon as they give me permission, it's reclined. Unless I fall asleep before they give me permission.
Okay, so Rashad, you go yes to reclining or no? Final answer.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I think it is almost unanimous, guys, that we can recline on American Airlines. So any airlines, that if the recline button is there, we can use it. George is adamant that they need to remodel, put in more seats into these airlines and give us that opportunity.
Or people can request a bulkhead seat
I really
or charter their own flight.
say it again, Cassandra.
Bulkhead seat requested or charter your own flight.
I love that. Charter your own flight. Dan, next time you fly, we're gonna fly with you on your charter.
Oh, absolutely. All right. I can do that. I'll do that.
All right, guys, if you want to weigh in on the American Airline drama, give us a call, 310-910-9676, extension 1. And I'm going to hand you back over to the poetess.
It's gonna air on the own network.
Hey. She said I paid for it. Yeah, Queen Jean says she paid for it. She's going to recline everybody.
No, exactly.
Hi, Ronald. Thank you so much.
They're
I'm
not
glad
cheap.
you're having
They're not
fun.
cheap.
Hey,
No.
Mr.
They're not
Phillips.
cheap.
Mr. Frederick Phillips, Cynthia. Hey,
You sit there like
cousin.
this, or you recline like that. Really?
Having a good time, Mr.
Right, because
Fishy.
I think the last time that I've been, on a flight, I think the last time I've been on a flight was when I flew out to
Wait for the right guy. Y'all have a good time. We're having a great
probably
time.
about
Ronald Fisher's in the house.
a
Cynthia
week
Boyd, how you
or
doing?
two
We're
before
having a good time, guys.
before
We
Hurricane
got the
hit.
snacks going on. Ready?
And that was the last time that I took a flight.
It's time for you to take a flight.
But I don't know where I'm a flight now.
It's okay. Right now, it's been so long, you just close your eyes, get a map, and just put your finger on it and go there.
If I was to fly anywhere, it would probably be somewhere in like Europe. I'll probably go to Amsterdam.
Yeah, Amsterdam is nice.
That's nice.
I like that.
I go to
Gee,
Amsterdam
guys,
because I can't go to Japan.
Get back in.
Yeah.
I can't go to Japan right now.
You better not go to any Asian.
No, let's not go now.
Yeah, I can't go right now. As
Now's
much
the time to go.
as much as I would love to go through the Summer Olympics.
No. That's
Yeah,
easy.
Rogers.
Yeah,
That's,
and especially with the clear vibes right now. Yeah, it's
Shout out to
it's not good time.
Queen Big Flaw.
Wait,
You know, I was reading today, they have cases now in the United States, people who don't have any flight history or travel history. Yeah, they have no idea where they can travel.
Amazing
How they got
time.
it.
We got a phone call.
Nor were they in contact with anyone
Yeah.
who has travel.
Okay.
We're gonna get ready to go back. Hey, y'all. I'm back. I made it. Rashid says we're gonna get ready to go back. We got a caller, though, right? We got a caller.
Yep,
All right. Yeah, I can roll right now. Ready? We don't want to have a Carter wait. We can't have a
All right,
Carter
exactly.
waiting.
All right, here we go.
There we go. Woo! Did you guys have a fun time? That was the mid-show shenanigans, everybody, here on the Poetry of Justice show with Jackie Hill Phillips on yikesradio.com and acceleratedradio.net. So we had some fun at the break, some good old school music that I like to do. We outroed with Mr. G. Lou. He was calling in and we were talking a little bit about the Me Too movement, but we have a caller on the phone. So caller, you're on the air. Let's do it.
Queen Jackie, what's going on with you and the crew there? Why?
How you doing, Queen G? What's going on, gorgeous?
Hey, I'm enjoying the show. I wanted to talk to Lori about that reclining situation.
Hey, Queen Jean. How you doing, beautiful?
I'm wonderful, beautiful. I love your hair. I love your hair. Your hair looks fabulous.
Oh, thank you, darling. Thank you. So what do you think, Queen? Can you recline or not? We took a poll here, and I think it's unanimous.
You pay for that seat, you recline that seat.
100%.
Queen says you pay for it, you recline for it. Now, Queen, what do you think the obligation, if any, does American Airlines have in supporting this woman and her lawsuit against the man who kicked her chair all the way to her destination?
No.
No obligation from American Airlines?
They don't have an obligation. No, I don't think there should be an obligation. I think that, you know, you get what you pay for. I mean, it happens, you know. It's just like if you're sitting in a 3-row seat and you got wide hips, you got to deal with trying to sit in that seat as comfortable as you can with that seat belt. So it is what it is, but to make such a big deal about it, no, because I'm going to recline mine because I paid for that ticket, and I always recline mine because I want to be comfortable too.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the panel definitely agrees with you. Now here is the question of the hour. What would happen, Queen, if you were on a plane and someone was pushing your chair your whole flight because you reclined? What would you do?
Nothing at all. I would just deal with it. I would just I would just deal with it because, like I said, you would have to deal with it if it was me. I would just deal with it because it's just like when you're going out in public to handle business, especially in California, and you're going to the bank, you have to mentally prepare yourself when you're going out there to handle business because these lines are going to be long. You're going to deal with different attitudes. You have to mentally prepare yourself to go out in the world.
Yeah, that is very true. That's true. Well, Queen, you have made it even doubly unanimous that we feel you can recline on a plane.
Right, and I've seen that too on Good Morning America.
Yes, yes.
So it must be true.
It's true. Thank you so much, Queen.
You're welcome. You all have a great one. I'm going to still be listening.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Queen Jean. We appreciate it. Yikes, Radio Bracket.
Today, so thank you.
Thank you too. I just want to let everybody know because it's on the website. When I say the website, it's on Facebook. But today was like my first official, real interview, and that was with the G. Lou Show and Queen Jean, who we have on the line right now. She is one of the co-hosts of that particular show. So we know God is the God of numbers, that I believe as well. And so we calculated some things, Queen Jean and G. Lou and I today on the show, which was the airing today was the last day of Black History Month, right, Queen Jean? And the last day of the month, which is rare, being on the 29th, right? And then I was blessed to be featured as episode 10 on the brand new G. Lou podcast, which is a brand new project brainchild of G. Lou. So it was really an interesting experience. I had a good time. I was really nervous, and I was so super duper. I was so nervous, you guys, and I don't even know why, but I was. And so I'm gonna play this one little piece, guys. I'm saying play it because just the new energies that I've had around me and blessing me over the last, I would say month or so, maybe a few months back though, but this is a piece that I wrote yesterday. I hadn't written any poetry in a while, so I want you guys to take this journey with me. And the name of, we got it. No, you haven't called her. We gotta call her.
Nah, we got back.
You wanna call her back?
No, I'm
All right, guys. But anyway, this particular piece, I finally came in with a name for it, and it's called The Glue. GLEW. Tick tock, waiting for the clock to stroke the strike of 12. 12 dancers prancing and glancing through the trees with electric energy, seamlessly true, ecstatically new. Existence, the way of life, loving beneath the skin, getting it in the groove, waiting to move into the right space, seeking the fate, a quest of a life. As a big game trophy, digesting the stealth. Ho-hum, who have we become? Is this really new? Sudden, just straight up out the blue? What about you? What do you think? What makes your heart sink into the well, praying to God it's not hell? Those fiery gates of fright, sometimes even on a Friday night. What the sight to see. Just me, being me. Oh, wee! So that's a new piece. Queen Jean, you look at you, Queen Jean. You done got it. You got it ready now. It's ready and fresh off the presses. I got my courage back.
Nice. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Thank you so much, you guys. That was a little tidbit that I wanted to add, because sometimes being the Poetry of Justice show today, and on that interview, I was able to talk about it, and it allowed me to redefine and kind of go back to our roots, Lori, and how it started and where it all began. And one of the things that we would always do early years of the show was to do a piece of poetry. I would always come in with a little piece of poetry, whether it was a brand new piece I had written or something from the published works or something to that regard. And then I know for me, and then Lori, I'm like, come on, sissy. I'm always, come on, sissy. And sissy come, we roll. But I think we got to a period of time where we were too busy driving the show. See what I'm saying? Producing and driving and getting the guests and what we gonna do and making sure that every Saturday night we give it all we got when we come into this studio and come into this station, you know. And I know I got away from it because we're focusing on the work and doing the work. And by the grace of God, now the show is able, it's almost at like we have plateaued. You know, you're always striving for more excellence, but the show has elevated and now it's kind of evolving in its new surroundings. So things are just coming to us as opposed to us having to go out and fish for it. The Lord has flipped the script, and so now it's filtering to us, and we're like, oh, so now we can get back to basics. So that opportunity allowed me to, like, okay, Jackie, why did you start the Poetry of Justice show? What does that really mean, as opposed to just, so thank you so much, everybody, for taking the time to listen to that. I appreciate it. So, you like the Rashid? Rashid says yes. So thank you, Queen Jean. I appreciate that, everybody, for listening in to that. I want to share something, you guys, on the Me Too tip. I like to say me too. My sister knows, but you say, I don't know if you're still listening, G-Lou, or who other the others that are out there, but when you ask sometimes, why don't you say anything, or where is the culpability on the other person's part? Did you see the signs coming? How would I have known? So we had done a piece called The Archer. I was able and blessed to do this spoken word piece. Anyway, I did a piece. And then a spoken word CD. And then I started working on about 5 more different songs. Worked with the same producer, gentleman. Things were fine. Things were fine. The project was wrapping up, so I'm routinely going over like 2 nights a week, and I'm recording. And like I said, the first
piece was done, and now we're working on this other one. And so the project's coming to an end, and it's time for me to just do little final sound bites, you know, here and there, just to kind of bring everything together. And I'm in the little studio booth, and I got my little headphones on like as such, and I'm doing me, you know, what I've been doing almost every Wednesday night when I come over here. And he had on sweatpants when I got there. I'm not thinking nothing. Okay, he got on sweats, he's more comfortable tonight. Normally, you know, now when you know, because you got time to play everything back in your mindset. Didn't think nothing, I was okay, got on sweats today, t-shirt. I'm in the studio, and he was directing me on some sounds, and the next thing I know, I feel this human being behind me, from behind me, just grab my breast. Just grab out of nowhere, just whoop. And I'm like, you know, and what do you know, I'm getting it now. It's like, whoa, and then he's right behind me, and I could feel his manhood on my back. And I'm like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? How am I gonna get out of here? Oh my God. And you know, you hear the shit, God forgive me. You hear about it. You hear about it.
Right.
And I'm like, this is little small scale shit. This ain't even Harvey Weinstein. I mean, for me, it was, I mean, it was something for me to do, praise God. I don't want to, you know, knock my blessing like that, but I'm just saying, right? Right? And then, you know, the panic is in my heart and my throat, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And you're thinking about to get raped. Oh my God, you always think about, I don't know about other women, but sometimes as a woman, you always kind of think, what would you do, and how would you react? Would you get beat up, or would you try to fight this person? Do you just lay there and take it? All these types of scenarios that have run through, I know, my mind as a woman before, and I'm like, what the fuck do I do? And then, and I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Get off me. And he's wrestling with me. To a point where he broke the straps of my brassiere, juggling with me. So then I finally turn around, and now I'm like pushing him off. I'm like, no, you know, I'm good. But I could see this look in his eye. And then I started thinking, okay, Jackie, praying. And then I said to myself, you gotta use some psychology here.
Yes.
You gotta use some psychology, dog. You don't went to school for this shit. You look at enough crime shows. Put it in here.
Right.
And I was just like, not now. I can't do this. And he knew, remember, Lord? He knew that my mom, me and my sister, do my mom's elder care at the time. You know, she's transitioned. And so I played it like I wanted him. Right? But I had
smart play.
It was an A play.
Exactly.
Well, my daddy used to say a hard card to play. It's A play. So let's just put it out here.
Yeah.
Boom. So I'm like, not right now. I want you to. I played that card. Okay, we talking about a card to play.
Right.
I played that card. Like, but I can't right now. I just can't. Look at me. I'm a mess. And you know I have to. And not like this. We don't want to do this way. You know, we've been working on this project, and this is the finale of it. Let's don't end it like this. If this is what has to happen between us, let's let it happen in a more loving. That shit right there. That, you know the shit. That shit right there. And I'm playing it, but I could see him, that look of hunger, of devouring you as a human commodity, if you will. Then it started to lessen. So I'm like, okay. And I was like, and my mom, I gotta get to my mother. You know I do her elder care. My mother doesn't have food. I've got to get to my mother. So next time I can be more prepared. I can have something on. We can make, man. And now let me tell you, I'm behind 2 big ass locked doors. On top of this fool only go with the key. So he gotta let me out. So I can't even just take off and do a Carl Lewis up in the U. I'm locked. I'm on lock. So it was like I was predator. I was the prey. He was the predator. He had me he had me. He had me straight real. And I was just like, just let me out. Just please, just, my mom, I gotta get to my. And I was just like, Lord. He let me out that first door. I was like, shit, I'm out the first door. Fuck it. I will jump this fence, whatever. I'm outside now. But you know, you gotta play it cool.
Yeah,
You're gonna play it on cool. I played it as well.
Right.
I'm gonna keep playing unless I have to. I'll try to jump a fence, whatever. Fuck, I'm out. And then that second big gate, he got me out of the second. Out that second gate, man, I could. My little car was named Trixie. You know, you remember Trixie? My little blue convertible Mercedes. I had Trixie when you know.
Yeah.
Boy, I was so happy to see Trixie little ass. I was like, yeah, I couldn't get in my little baby fast enough, but I was shaking like a leaf. Oh my God. And I just couldn't get to my mama's house fast enough. I couldn't get to her house fast enough. And I had a meeting that night. Maybe that was another music producer, but a person to talk to me about distributing my work. But I just was like, Lord, and then I didn't say anything because I didn't really say anything. I didn't tell them my husband until the guy became a full-on stalker. Calling my gig, my real gig, like where I get paid at gig, not just the fun and the sun stuff we do here on the radio. But then you got that fear factor of what is he going to do? Because he told him before we started this project, I'm trusting you with her. I'm not going to be able to come over here with her every time. But he was like, don't ever make me have to come back over here.
Your husband said that.
Yes, at the onset, but and he didn't give a damn about none of that. So then it was that psychological issue, like, do I tell him, do I not tell him? Then he went through the phase of, Jackie, what's up with your project? You've been running your ass over here every night, you know what I mean, for these weeks, where is it? And so then that's when I just kind of ended up telling them, but you know, well, please don't do nothing, don't act a fool, it's not worth it, this and that and this, you know. They did end up having a conversation. Still, but but I never got the work. I never finished the work. So he has all of that work. Then he started trying to use leverage. He used every way he could try to get to me. People that he had worked with other projects on, he had them calling me. I went as far as a cease and desist. I had to have a cease and desist order placed against this guy. Wow. You know what I mean? This is just around the way local community fun, I thought. That was my little Me Too tidbit. But there's multi layers of even like to this day. Sometimes I'm gun shy about even going back into an environment to do anything. You know, I don't know. But that was my little Me Too story. Look at Dan talking to me.
I'm sorry that happened. It's awful.
I know. And then you go through that, well, should I have expected it? Should I have known better? What should I have done? Should I have not worn that dress? Should I have worn a more sturdier bra? Come on. Yeah. You know what I mean? You should.
No, but that's true though. Because you do think, what did I do? To invite
to
this?
provoke it.
Or provoke it. Yeah, exactly. Or was there any time ever that I encouraged him in any way? I also feel like for women, I don't know how you were dressed or whatever when you went to go see him, but you should be able to dress any way that you want, and whatever makes you feel comfortable, and not have to worry that somebody's going to find that provocative. You know what I mean? And that somehow that you're asking for it, or that you're an invitation, that you're dressed in a certain way, that you're inviting something, and I just think that's incredibly unfair.
I don't think it mattered what you had on, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Especially over a period of time, his imagination had taken over, you know, what he should have been thinking about. And so now his imagination is running wild into what his thoughts and what he wanted them to be about you.
I started seeing, you know, hindsight, right? He got to a point where, like, when I would come in to start, you know, he'd have up like a, you know, with all the different computer monitors, almost like a shrine of Jackie. So a point where he was like, had been low key, like going to the archives of my photos on Facebook and was pulling up all of these. Oh, and I was like, right, Rashid? I was like, look, what the fuck? And I was like, why? And I was like, why? I'm like, why? Where'd you get this picture? Because I'm like, damn, I put that up there in 2009. You know, like, where did you even find that picture of me? You know? Oh, you know, I was thinking that I could work on a website for you. It was like he didn't want anything to end. You know what I'm saying? He was letting the work linger. Oh, we gotta do this. Oh, you need to do that. Oh, let's set this up. So it was one of those things. But hey.
When he was like calling your place of work and that kind of thing, what was his end goal? Was he trying to
get me to come back and finish this project? That is exactly what he says he wanted. Because the gentleman that which was at Link and or Connect, he and I worked. So we worked on outside projects together, but we actually happened to work together as well. So this is, you know, we're performing and doing all our stuff, you know. And so the gentleman had another project with one of my friends. And so he had our work of employment number because he had been working with this other gentleman. I never gave him my number, so when he called that, so you can imagine how befuddled I was when I get this call
Right.
from him.
Right.
And I'm like, wow.
Do you know, is he around? Do you know what happened to him? Is he still?
He's findable.
He's around.
If I had to bet, he's findable. But yeah, once I put in, and I just felt like this, if you really want to see me that much,
Real cases out there.
if you're willing to undergo a cease and desist, because the next stop is going to be restraining order. So if you really want to potentially talk to me that bad, where you're going to put your reputation and your music career at fault, for what? That's just insane. You never know what people are thinking
That's
about.
true.
You know, I don't know.
Should have told him you can come back and finish the project with your husband and your.
See, yeah. At this point, I couldn't even take William back.
Oh, no,
over.
no, that was bad.
So I was just
Somebody
like,
wasn't coming out of there.
Not
yeah.
standing.
And then me too at this point, because now I got a little courage now, right? So, but it's tough. I
So
can
you,
only imagine.
you told your husband, did you tell anybody else? I mean, you got this restraining order, obviously.
Well, just on the cease and desist, but we have another caller, guys. I'm sorry, Dan. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Hello? Hello, caller, you're on the air. Thank you for calling the POJ. Hi, Randy. How are you tonight? Oh, you already done it? Okay, he's already been cut. Okay, you already know. You got the game on him. Guys, thank you for that. I'm sorry, Dan. This is a call. Yeah, he calls and he's from New York, and anyway, we're not going to talk about him.
Okay.
Go ahead, Dan. I'm so sorry. Okay, timeline.
So I was just curious, so you said you told your husband you got the cease and desist, did you tell anybody else? that
I
this
told
happened?
Lori, like, immediately.
Okay.
The night it occurred. I told Lori, so I left there, I went from there to my mom's house. I didn't tell my mother.
No.
I was a little shaken, but you know, remember us kind of living with bombing.
And she was sick and
Right.
so that's not.
So I just went in and I changed my clothes because I gotta now go home.
Yeah.
And my husband gonna wanna know why in the hell did your broke that part right there. But by the grace of God, you know, I had clothes at mommy's house, at my house, you know, so I went to mommy's house and I changed my clothes. Then to go home, I didn't end up telling William until months later.
Why?
Cause he's ignorant. That's just the bottom line, Dan. And no, I'm being
Well, it's not
honest.
really, you can just protect it.
Okay, but I know him. I think I know him.
Yes.
I've known him for like 30.
Oh, yeah,
4
you knew what
years.
was going down.
And in the height of it,
Mhm.
and if I went to him with my,
Just trying to
You
keep your
think he would
husband
just-
out of jail.
right,
Right, you think he would just react
I know.
right away?
100%.
absolutely,
Yeah.
unequivocally, if nothing else, just for the disrespect, cause I told you
Right.
not to touch her.
Exactly.
Right.
And you just said me. That's where
Right.
he was gonna come from.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
On top of the fact that you touched my wife.
Right.
You know, so I'm just like,
So you were trying to prevent a bigger fallout from happening.
and I like to eat, and he's the breadwinner. And last thing I needed was him catching the cat and being gone.
Exactly.
Then I might need that casting couch. That was so wrong. But young, we talked about the reasons why. The lawyer always say, "You gonna give me the reasons?" So those are one of the reasons why I didn't tell that way.
I'm sorry that happened to you.
Yeah, me too. We still here,
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
I know. I've got some more notes here. Dan, I know we talked when we did our pre-interview, and these are where some of these notes are from. I wanted to know, we talked a little bit about the Academy Awards and the different changes with the Oscars. Can you kind of take us down that little path?
I think we were talking a little bit about the Oscars so white and that sort of
Correct.
that whole thing that's been going on, and it's. I just feel like, and you know, chime in, you guys, but I just feel like it's a systemic problem that sort of starts at the top, and I don't I mean, it's not necessarily just the Academy. I think it's the whole
Yes.
infrastructure of the way that the industry works. And the people at the top that are making the decisions and greenlighting these films and hiring these artists and directors, and I think that whole power structure has to really change in order for us to then see systemic change kind of trickle down. It's also, my father is a member of the Academy, and he's a 89-year-old Jewish white man, and who he doesn't know how to work his DVD player, and they send him all these screenings, and he ended up just voting for like what his friends are voting for, or like he'll go to the screenings, he won't watch them at home, but he'll go to the theater and watch the screenings, and 90% of it he hates or doesn't understand. It has no relevance for him at all. And a lot of his compatriots, a lot of sort of people of his generation, that's the majority of who the voters are in the Academy. And so, every year this keeps kind of coming up, the lack of diversity. And I think I'm just being really frank, but until a lot of those people die, there's that turnover. The Academy has been very sort of active in recruiting new members and younger members and more diverse members, and they have loosened their restrictions and requirements to get into the union, or it's not a union, the Academy. It used to be much more difficult to get in. Automatically, if you get nominated for an Academy Award, you get invited to join.
Wow.
And then you have to have a certain amount of credits in your field, and then you have to also be referred sort of, into the organization. And so they've been extending a lot more invitations to a lot more people to try to build diversity. But I feel like if you don't have things to choose from, then how can you vote for things that aren't there?
Exactly.
And so I think it starts at the top and kind of trickles sort of all the way down. I felt this year that the Oscars, they were overcompensating a little bit too much for the fact that there was a lack of diversity in the nominees, and it seemed like they were sort of throwing every young performer and every person of color just like as much as they could throw in, which for me it almost had a sort of a negative effect,
connotation,
a
absolutely.
backward sort of effect.
Because it's almost like, okay, here, go.
Yeah,
You want something, here you go.
Right.
Yeah, and
Be quiet. Go away.
Force, no like a pay.
Yeah.
Like the year when Halle won it and Denzel won it, all like, okay, I'm gonna give you guys your moment.
Yeah.
And go away for the next 25
It started to feel like overkill in a way,
Yes.
and they were just overcompensating for the lack of diversity in nominees and stuff still. But I think it starts at the top. I mean, the people that are making the decisions to who to hire and what films to greenlight and what films to make, and finance, I think it has to represent a wider section, and a more diverse section. I don't know, do you have any thoughts?
I mean, I totally agree with you, and I think that most of the time when change takes place, because we all hang out in our environments that we're most comfortable with. So when the people in our environment who don't feel the way we feel speak up and say that they don't feel the way we feel, then we begin to change ourselves for the better. It's when we all agree about the same thing, no matter if it's right or wrong, and we go along with it. We may not agree, we just go along with it. Change doesn't happen. And that's what has to start taking place in the Academy. Because there's a lot of people, well, I believe there has to be some, that don't feel the same way as the elder statesmen that are there now, but they did at one time, but now they have a change of mind. But they won't say they just go along with the party.
It's also, and I don't know that people necessarily know this, but it ends up being sort of a popularity contest. And there's so many award shows now that are happening prior to the Academy Awards, and so what happens is once these films and these performers sort of get into that sort of snowball factory, basically, and they gain a certain amount of momentum. I just, there's no way out of that. Do you know what I'm saying? And so I feel like it's sort of, it's almost predetermined right from the very beginning, when the first nominations start coming out with the Golden Globes and whatever the thing is that's first of the season. Because I hate to say it, but I think Hollywood, you know, in a lot of times is, they sort of follow along with the trend as opposed to creating their own trend, right? So if somebody is doing well, then everybody kind of jumps on that bandwagon, as opposed to actually stepping outside and saying, wait a minute, I don't agree with that. So I think that's part of it too.
Yes.
We were talking about Harvey Weinstein earlier. He's actually the one, and his company is really the one who sort of started this whole process of, you know, putting a lot of money behind certain films in order to win Academy Awards. There was a theory, that, and this has changed now because of all the streaming platforms and everything, but there was a theory that if your film won a certain amount of Academy Awards, or especially if you were won like Best Picture, that would automatically increase the box office take of a certain film, and would not only add to its prestige, but it would add significantly to the amount of money that it earned, you know, worldwide. That has changed a little bit because things are so widely distributed everywhere. But he was actually the one who started that whole process of courting the press and buying lots and lots of ads in all the trade publications and getting behind these films. I mean, there at one point, you know, they essentially said that he bought Gwyneth Paltrow her Academy Award for Shakespeare in Love.
Wow.
You know, because he just put such a push behind getting her nominated for that Academy Award, you know, and getting this film seen, getting it out there. And so in a lot of ways, he sort of started that whole process. Which is kind of interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
What was you gonna say? I'm sorry.
Oh,
go ahead.
is
Say
it
it.
gone?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I wish I had known that before. I would have been talking. Anyway, I think that it's very important, as you said, Dan, for what type of films we have out there to select, to choose from. I think when we get to the point where a film can be made and any nationality be cast in this film, I think Hollywood is so used to not looking at diversity on the screen, they don't give credit or credence to what's being made, such as, I'll just name one that we just saw, The Photograph. So you got a couple of people on that are, you know, African Americans that are in love. They're not used to seeing that.
Yeah.
And it, you know, it's, I don't know if Hollywood's repulsed by that or what. We're so used to seeing lighter, fairer skinned people in love, and that's real. But for some reason, it's not real when it's someone of another ethnicity.
Right.
So when we get used to seeing films like that with people of other ethnicities, and it becomes the norm, then it will be easier to nominate those films for Academy Awards, because then it'll be normal to see it. But right now, it's not getting the credit that it deserves, because I think it's not real in their eyes.
Right. Right.
It's not believable.
What were you thinking, Dan? I'm sorry about that.
No, I think it's really interesting. I haven't seen that particular film. I love Issa Rae. I think she's fantastic and incredibly talented and a brilliant businesswoman, and she basically created a niche for herself that didn't exist before. And she's really leveraged, you know, her success into many different areas of the business. And I mean, she's an incredible role model and somebody, you know, definitely I'm just excited to see what's next, because I think I admire her so much. And her perspective, I love her perspective, and the way that she sort of looks at things is just really interesting to me. And I agree. I mean, I would love to see more of that. One of the classes I teach at USC in the MFA group, this particular year, we have 9 students and 7 of them are African American. And we had a conversation recently sort of surrounding some of these issues, and somebody brought up, which I don't know 100% the accuracy of, but somebody brought up, we're talking about Will Smith. And you know, he produces films as well, he owns a production company, and somebody mentioned that he has to date not hired any black directors to actually direct the films that he's producing. And again, I don't know the exact authenticity of that, but that's a problem. You know, I mean, if he's running a production company and if he's selling product to the studios and not actively recruiting women and directors of color, then he's part of the problem. Again, I can't say with authority if that's entirely true, that statement is true, but if it is, then I feel like that's an issue.
Absolutely, it's an issue.
I have a question. I have two questions. We have to talk about Bill Cosby with this. I'm sorry, we just do. I was gonna ask you, George, did you hear everything with the verdict of Harvey Weinstein, that Bill Cosby did in fact reach out and have some commentary on behalf of supporting Harvey Weinstein and his position? Did you?
No, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, Dan.
I think through his lawyer, through Bill Cosby's lawyer, he sent a message in support of Harvey Weinstein after the verdict. I guess he's still
Need thoughts on that? You gotta get to that.
well, he's still in jail, right? Bill
Yeah.
Cosby?
Yes, he's still in prison.
Cellmates.
He's still in prison,
Yeah.
But now I understand that
Yeah,
Harvey
yeah, he's still in
Weinstein's
prison.
health has been really, really compromised
Declining,
right now.
yeah.
Is
Yeah,
it
he
hospital?
thinks
He's
it's
pulling the
fine,
shit
yeah.
back? He pulling the shit.
shit
You pulling the
Exactly.
shit? You guys see
Exactly.
Chick said he was blind and
That-
couldn't
Hey,
see. Bro, he can't even leave. He was in immediate
Yes,
remain.
Yes.
Yes.
Is he your cousin
Exactly.
for real?
Yes.
Your health
He said
declines
that.
real quick when you go in handcuffs. You ever
Start
notice
walking
that?
with a walker.
What?
Yeah.
You know, I think that one of the problems is that men sometimes they don't know. I'd say men because I think probably the problem lies mostly with men. I'm not saying that men are not victims as well, but most of the Me Too movement came out about women, so I'm just referring to women this way.
Okay.
But there was the show on TV, Survivor. They're out there for 39 days on an island, and they have to work together, the people there. And there was one guy, one of the contestants on the show, was seen, and some of the women on the show complained that he was always touching them. He was always putting his head in their lap, you know, these unwelcomed advances. He thought nothing of it, zero. So the women were all talking, chatting together, saying, you know, I'm very uncomfortable with this. So they talked to the producers talked to him, and he was just beside himself. He couldn't believe that somebody had a problem with him. He meant nothing by it. You know, he was just totally apologetic, blah, blah, blah. So they, you know, they told him that. Well, 2 shows later, he was no longer on the show. So apparently he was just so naive about his behavior that things were continually going on, and they had to remove him from the show. And they came on the show and told us that they removed him from the show because, you know, there's more complaints.
Okay.
And so I think that a lot of times people think that their behavior, that there's nothing wrong with it.
Right,
For them, it's normal to come and touch your hair, and he was doing that too, putting his hand in people's hair and giving people shoulder massages and things that they didn't ask for, nor were they welcomed. And even after being asked to stop, he would continually do it. And so, sometimes I think people don't think that there's anything wrong with their behavior, but they need to understand that this is personal space, and once you've invaded it uninvited, that's a problem. I
Boundaries.
also wanna make one more little comment. I wanna make sure that we don't forget that there are some normal behaviors as well that I think that sometimes get misconstrued as being harassment. If a man comes to your job you work with every day and says, "Oh, Jackie, your hair looks gorgeous," you did something different to it. I don't think that there's a problem with that. Now, if he puts his hands in and strokes it and pulls your face to it and gives you a kiss, that's a different story. But just acknowledging that, or you come in and you got a bad suit that you just bought. Boy, that color looks really good on you. That's not necessarily sexual harassment. That's kind of normal for people to have that kind of exchange. And so I think that a lot of that also has gotten intertwined with the Me Too movement, and things that are just normal behavior all of a sudden is now, those lines are blurred. We don't know what's normal anymore.
Yeah, the same, and then there's the same point about people who work together, who have personal relationships, and how, in some ways, you know, that's how you meet people, right? Is in your workplace, and so why wouldn't two consenting adults be allowed to, in their own personal private time, have a relationship? And that's starting to come into question as well, and people are looking at that stuff more carefully too. So I think it's a fine line to walk.
Yes.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
What are you thinking, Lauren G? How are you feeling about it all? Me too.
I don't, it is. I agree with the panel, the discussions, definitely, Cassandra, what you said. And it gets really, really blurry. At my job, I have recently been appointed the HR partner for our school. Isn't that amazing? That's not that much of a day. And it's just been eye-opening, the differences between what some people report. And you can't help but think sometimes that some of that reporting that happens it goes to personal things, like this person has never really liked that person, or this other person feels some kind of way because this person got recognized or promoted. There's all of those other kinds of petty things that go into that. And we were just talking at a meeting about, in this climate, every one of those things have to be investigated. And I mean, I could say, "Hey Dan, I love your haircut." I don't mean anything by it. It's the first time I said that. But if Dan goes to the HR partner and reports, "Lori commented on my haircut and it made me feel uncomfortable and vulnerable," that's an HR ticket.
Yes.
And now the number of man hours that go in to investigate that. So, I mean, I don't know. I think we need it. I'm glad that people are standing up, that people feel the ability to say me too, but it's always those naysayers that come through and really kind of mess it up for everybody.
Whoa, guys, we're nearing the end of this train and this amazing time we had together. Dan, did you have a good time?
I had a great time. Thank you.
George, what about you?
Always have a great time.
Queen?
I had a fantastic time. Thank you.
You guys have to come back and hang out with us?
I will.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you for having us.
I apologize for that, but we're going to get ready to head out. But I want to let everybody know next week we're going to be talking about some old school music, hip hop. We're going to talk about it from a revolutionary perspective to an evolutionary perspective. And please remember to tune into our YouTube at the POJ Show, the POJ Show. Please subscribe to our YouTube, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Poetry of Justice Show with Jackie Ray Phillips on Yikes Radio and AccelerateRadio.net. Thank you. Good night. We did it, guys!
That was
Another
fun.
one.
I was listening to
Jackie.
Kevin.
That was really fun.
You had a good time.
Yeah, that was awesome. So you've done this before?
Yes.
Yeah?
It's
Okay.
always fun.
Oh,
And
great.
It gets live in here, man.
Oh man, oh my
Yeah,
gosh. We were tagged, we were being good for you. We're being really
the studio. So everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Queen Jean. I appreciate you. Yes, thank you for coming. So did you have fun, you guys? Good. You come back and play with us again. Please make sure and come back. Guys, thank you so much, Gino. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Mary
Oh,
Stevenson.
that's great.
Thank you so much. We're gonna get ready to take some pictures, guys. Thank you so much. I love you all. We loved you. You were great.
Really fun.
Good.
Thank you.
I'm glad
Thanks
you
for thinking
enjoyed
of
it.
me.
Yes, thank you for coming.
Awesome.
And as always, my friend, thank you for coming. But thank you more so for bringing this lovely queen, I tell ya. See, you're natural on that mic. You gotta get on there more often.
when we showed her before. I told her.
You should just turn it off.
You gotta say something, huh?
No, she gotta say something.
Let her talk.